Hello and welcome once again to Facebook Live with Lynne and Craig. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I have to say Happy New Year.
You have to say Happy New Year. It's 2021.
Yeah.
My name's Craig. I'm from mansioningles.com, where you can find courses and lots of material to improve your English, and also from the podcast inglespodcast.com, where Reza and I, my colleague and friend, podcast every week with free material for you to improve your English. And with me is Lynne.
That's right. And Happy New Year to Razor too, because I haven't seen Razor for a long time. But
I don't think he'll be watching this.
He'll not be watching, but you can say Happy New Year to him. It's a great podcast, everybody. So go and listen to the English podcast because it is really good. And I do listen to the podcast. Okay, so my name is Lynne and I'm from putitlikethis.com. And I also offer online teaching. But I do very specific teaching. So if you have a specific objective in mind, like an exam or a presentation, or you're writing articles, I can help you find your voice in English. So that's the aim. If you go to my website, you can find more detail about the kind of courses that I make for people. Okay.
And it's lovely to be back with you. And we've had a long break. We're feeling rested and ready to go.
I don't know about that, but
Lynne, what's the topic today?
Well, we've got a word. We have a word which looks really easy. The word is light. And so everybody thinks, oh, great, we'll have a nice light lesson to start the course of the year. But the word light is quite complex. So that's why we're dedicating an entire class to the word light, because there are many meanings for it and there are many, many different expressions. Is that right?
That's right. Before we get into different uses of light, let's say a quick hello to people who are just joining us live on Facebook. Hello, Fabiana. Happy New Year. Carlos is here. Gemma. Happy New Year, Gemma.
Hi.
And Katy is here. And Katia from Costa Rica. Hello to all of you.
Lovely.
And hello if you're watching the replay. We won't forget people who are watching after the fact on Facebook. So thank you for spending time with us. So let's look at uses of the word light and hopefully help you with some vocabulary, expanding your vocabulary. What's the first meaning, Lynne?
Okay, so the first meaning of light is the one that probably everybody, I think, knows, and it means illumination. So a light is a bright light, something that, for example, there's the brightest star in the world is the sun, and the sun gives us light. And the opposite of light, of course, is dark. Okay, so we have the word light. Now we have quite a few expressions to do with light, because there can be natural light, which comes from the sun. And of course, we have artificial light. I don't think you can see it here in my room, but on the ceiling, I have a light. So you have artificial light. And then, of course, we've got a few verbs that go with that. So you can turn on the light, and the opposite is to turn off the light. That's when you switch it on the wall. Okay, so here are some words that we have all to do with light when it means illumination. We use the adjective bright light. So if the light is very, very glaring and it hurts your eyes, that is a bright light. It's one that is very, very illuminating. Of course, we have the opposite of bright light would be dim light. Right? So dim light when there's not a lot of light. Now, I think I can demonstrate this really easily because I actually have a ring light in my computer setup. I have a ring light. Do you know what a ring light is, Craig?
Is it around your camera? Because I know there are LED lights that you can put around the camera so it shines on your face and the camera's coming through the middle. Is that what it is?
That's right. That's what it is. And do you know what it does? Do you know what it does, Craig? A ring light makes you look younger. So watch this. Here I am, 21. Let me turn, and I have a very bright light in my face, right? It makes me look younger. Remember that, because you had to compliment me. Now, if I turn my ring light off.
Oh, you look 22 now.
Thank you.
Definitely aged you at least a year.
That's right. So that's well done. What a wonderful compliment, Craig. Very good. You haven't forgotten the lesson on compliments.
Compliments.
So at the moment, this is a dim light. It's not very bright. And if I put it on, you'll see now that I have a very bright light. Okay, so bright light and dim light. We have Christmas lights, of course, the ones that you put on your Christmas tree, or the ones that we have in the streets that you look up. Do you want to continue, Craig?
Yes, we can also use lights with the phrasal verb light up, to light up. And it's a phrasal verb that you can separate. So you can put the object in the middle. You can light up the room, or you can light the room up. So if you put more lights in the room, you light up the room. You can light up the sky. For example, if there are fireworks, fuegos artificiales, then you light up the sky. Oh, one more thing about the verb to light. It is irregular. So the past is lit, L-I-T. The fireworks lit up the sky yesterday. And the past participle is also lit, L-I-T. So light, lit, lit, irregular verb. And you can light up my life. If you are in love with your partner, you can say that my partner lights up my life. And
also your children, when the children are being nice, then they light up your life as well. It's not just your partner, your children too.
That's true. In fact, when I was very young, and I had, not very young, when I was in my 20s, most of my girlfriends didn't used to come in and light up the room. They came in and lit up a cigarette, usually. So you can light a cigarette and you can light up the room. Most of my ex-girlfriends came in the room and lit up a cigarette, not the room. At first light is dawn, when the sun starts to rise in the morning and you get a little bit of light. You can say at first light. For example, let's get up early tomorrow at first light and do some exercise. You can hold something against the light. If you can't see something very well, you hold up something against the light. At my age, with my glasses, sometimes I can't read small text very well. So I usually go to the window and I hold the text up against the light so I can read it easily. And also a red light area is, well, what's a red light area, Lynn?
You're asking me.
Well, you used to live in Germany. I think they have red light areas in Germany.
All over, yes. And I actually always had, my flats were always very close to the red light areas. The red light area is actually the area of a city where prostitution is allowed. And of course, there are some in Germany, it's legal. And in the Netherlands, it's legal. I think in Amsterdam, they have a very famous red light district, which a lot of tourists go to look at. So a red light area is the area where prostitution usually occurs, okay, or where you can, and it can also be dangerous, is right. Carlos has just said, hello, Carlos. He's just said it can mean danger as well.
Yeah, it can be a dangerous place to walk around.
It can be.
More people are joining us live. Minia, Happy New Year to you. And Elena's with us. Hello, Elena. So hello to everybody who's recently joined. Ro from Madrid is back again. Lovely to see all of you again.
So I hope so far you're still with us, because light in those senses, I think, is pretty obvious. Yeah, most people learn the word light when they're beginners. Yeah, put the light on. Okay, turn the light off. All right.
Let's move on to compound nouns for a while, because if you put an adjective and a noun together, we can make what's called a compound noun. So, for example, light switch is a noun made up of two words. But really, the first word light is describing the switch. What kind of switch is it? Interruptor is a switch. What kind of switch? It's a light switch. It turns the light on and off. So that adjective really becomes part of the noun. So we say it's a compound noun. Light bulb is the glass that you screw into the ceiling, and then you turn on the light switch and the light bulb lights up. There's that phrasal verb again, to light up. What's a lighthouse, Lynn?
Lighthouse. Now they're lovely because they're usually on the coast, and the lighthouse is that very big tower. It's usually white, and at the top it has a revolving light, and that light illuminates the ocean. And they usually do that. Obviously, they put the light on the lighthouse at night, and it helps the ships in the ocean to navigate, so they know where the land is, so they don't get too close to land because maybe there are rocks and things like that. That's a lighthouse. And of course, you see those wherever there's a coast, usually in the world, you will find a lighthouse. Hema says a faro. That's right. That's a lighthouse.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. And then daylight is the light that we have during the day. Yeah. Now we often use, and that's also a compound noun, daylight, the light of day. But we sometimes have an expression as well. We say in broad daylight. And in broad daylight means in the middle of the day when it was light and everybody saw things happening, right? That would be daylight. Then we have traffic lights. You see those on the roads. The traffic lights tell you in the car when you can stop or when you can go. So a red traffic light means stop. A green traffic light means go. Then we have two types of lights that you find on the car. You have the headlights, which are at the front of the car. And at the back of the car, you have the brake lights. They show you when you are braking the car. When the car is slowing down and coming to a stop, that is the brake. You're braking, and that's a brake light. And it tells the car behind you that you are slowing down. So headlights.
What kind of lights do you prefer, Lynn, at home? Do you prefer bright lights in the house, artificial lights, or do you prefer kind of lights that give the house a nice atmosphere, maybe very soft lighting, quite dim and quite dark?
Yeah, well, they have now, because of the they have new light bulbs, of course, that save energy. And those light bulbs that save energy, when they were first invented, they gave off a white light. And on the packets, it says white light. And if you put those white lights in, then the light is very, very bright. It's like the ring light that I have on my face right now. So it makes everything very, very clear, very bright, but it's not very warm. And then because of that, I hated when the first energy efficient light bulbs came out. We changed them all, and the entire house looked like a hospital for me. And I
had to put sun cream on to stop you getting sunburned in the house.
So cold that I hated it, and so we changed them, because then they started to bring out a version that gives a yellow light. And the yellow light is called a warm light. And I prefer the warm lights in my house. I hate it when it's too bright. Obviously, on the online classes now, it has to be bright. But in my house, I prefer warm lights and dim lighting. I only have white lights in the kitchen so I can see what I'm cooking.
So you haven't gone all high tech with that new smart lighting on your mobile phone where you can put different colors in the light bulbs and have red and blue and adjust everything from an app on your phone. You haven't gone that way yet.
I haven't got that. Have you got that, Craig? Are you more modern?
No, I haven't. But I've always been a big fan of dimmer switches. dimmer. Dimmer. To dim is to turn down the intensity of the light to create a nice ambiance, a nice atmosphere. And I had one in the living room and it broke. It stopped working. But this goes back into when I was younger, and I thought that to create a nice atmosphere. If I asked a young lady back to my flat, I could dim the lights, put on some soft music, and create a nice romantic atmosphere. So from those days, I've always liked dimmer lights, but now
So
we
can
don't have
see
it.
it didn't work, Craig, because when you dim the lights, the girls lit up their cigarettes.
Yes.
So it didn't achieve the right effect, I don't think, did it?
No, it didn't. We've got some comments coming in the chat room. Yes, Carlos says semáforo, traffic lights, exactly. And Minia's asking about highlights.
Highlights.
Two meanings come to mind with highlights. You can have highlights in your hair. Like if you have dark hair, you can have blonde highlights. These are not blonde highlights. This is gray. This is my age. But younger people can have highlights, a different color in their hair. And you can also have highlights in a film or a television show. And that means the best bits or the best pieces of the show. For example, the highlights of this Facebook Live might be 5 minutes of the best parts, for example.
Okay. All right. So they're compound nouns, yeah?
They're compound nouns. Let's go to the next group of vocabulary, idioms.
Idioms.
Do you think, Lynn, we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel of the coronavirus now that we have a vaccine? Can you see the light at the end of the tunnel?
A little. I can see a little light at the end of the tunnel. So that idiom, to see, so it's a metaphor, of course. A tunnel is, for example, when you're in the train, if the train goes through the mountains, they make an opening through the mountain, and that's the tunnel, right? So you can imagine that metaphor. If you're in a train going through a tunnel, it gets very dark because there's no light. And at the end of the tunnel, that's when you start to see the daylight again. And that gives you hope. And this is the metaphor here. If you see the light at the end of the tunnel, it means that you are in a little depressing place at the moment. Maybe you're in a time that you're not having so much fun and things are not very positive. They're quite negative. But if you see a light at the end of the tunnel, it means you see a way out of your bad situation. You see hope. So to see light at the end of the tunnel means to feel hope again. And I do see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, but I still think we have a couple of months to go yet.
Yeah, early days, I agree, but there is some light. There is some light there, I think, at the end of the tunnel.
I hope
if you put somebody in a bad light, you make them look bad. For example, mentioning no names, but if a politician does something really bad, that puts them in a bad light. Of course, the opposite is to put somebody in a good light, to say positive things about someone.
And it makes them more attractive and better. So you see, my ring light, because it makes me look a little bit younger, it puts me in a good light as well. Okay.
If you see the light, you suddenly realize something. Imagine you don't understand something and someone explains it to you very well. You can say, now I can see the light. There's a realization. There's a revealing of something, an understanding. Suddenly you see the light.
Okay. All right.
How are we doing with comments?
With comments. So I think Christine says that to the light at the end of the tunnel is a similar idiom in Spanish. Ver la luz al final del túnel.
Yeah. Hi, Christine.
And then Carlos is saying a solution at the end of a problem, to the light at the end of the tunnel. So it's very similar to Spanish in that sense. But I think the idiom to be in a good light, to put somebody in a good light, or to put somebody in a bad light, I'm not sure if that's an idiom in Spanish, is it? That phrase. I can't think of anything in Spanish.
I can't think of any equivalent. If you can think of an equivalent expression for that, please write it in the chat room. But let's change meanings now, because up to now we've been speaking about luz, the meaning of light and the different uses of light with luz. But of course, it also means ligero in Spanish. So it can mean something that is not heavy or not severe or not strong. So let's look at that meaning for a while and some collocations with ligero, the ligero meaning of light. For example, you can wear a light jacket if the weather's not cold. If it's spring or autumn and it's sunny, maybe you need a jacket, but not a heavy jacket. So you put on a light jacket.
So it means it's not heavy in that sense, because in the winter you have a thick jacket and it weighs a lot. So to have a light jacket, it's just a jacket, but it's quite thin. You can also have a light bag. You know, when you travel at the airport, you have to put your heavy bag in the baggage. You have to check it in. But you are allowed sometimes hand luggage on the plane. And sometimes people say instead of hand luggage, you are allowed a light bag. That means one that doesn't weigh a lot. Of course, you know the drinks, Coca-Cola Light, right? And it's interesting because you have written Light there.
Only because that's how it is. That how it's
it might be how it's written, but there are many foods and drinks. Of course, Coca-Cola Light is a type of Coca-Cola that is not heavy in sugar. It has very, very low sugar or no sugar. I think Coca-Cola Light, it uses saccharin, and they often talk about light types of food and drink now. Those are foods that are not heavy in calories, right? So they're not fattening. And they either spell it Light, which is the traditional way of spelling light, but often you see now a new spelling, which is Lite. And that spelling is on a lot of products, but it only means that it's not heavy in calories, basically. Okay. Do you want to continue? Light work?
Light work. You can have heavy work and light work. An example of heavy work is maybe working in construction with heavy machinery, maybe lifting boxes or heavy things, or digging. To dig is cavar. So this kind of work is quite heavy physical work. Or you can do light work, which is possibly working with talking to a camera or correcting some writing from students. That's light work, isn't it? It's not too heavy. It's not too physically demanding. It's light work.
It's light work.
What I'm doing now at my age is light exercise. I'm not playing tennis. I'm not playing football. I'm not running on the beach. I'm going for a walk. Maybe I'm doing a few push-ups. I'm doing light exercise. So nothing very serious. Are you a light sleeper, Lynn, or do you sleep quite?
No, I'm a very heavy sleeper. I'm a sound sleeper. Now, that means that when you sleep, you can have a light sleep or a heavy sleep. When you have a light sleep, that means that you wake up many, many times. So during the night, maybe you keep waking up. If there's a tiny little noise, that will make you wake up. That's a light sleeper. And a heavy sleeper, sometimes we also say sound sleeper.
Or deep sleeper.
Or a deep sleeper. A deep sleeper, sound sleeper, heavy sleeper. That means that you have to have something very big happen for you to wake up. And fortunately, I'm quite lucky. I'm quite a sound sleeper. I'm not a light sleeper.
Me too.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I sleep quite well. When I do eventually get to sleep, I'm a heavy sleeper. If you have a bit of a headache, maybe you've drunk too much beer, or you've been in a noisy environment and you have a headache, but it's not very serious, you can call it a light headache. And my mum never had light headaches. She always had splitting headaches. She's got, oh, I've got a splitting headache. To split is partir. It's like your head is being split in half. So there's a light headache, there's a headache, and there's a bad headache or a splitting headache.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just looking at the comments. Christine asks, is light more informal? Well, if I was to write light, I would never write it Lite. I think it's more of it came from America, and I think it was more of a sort of marketing thing. Like sometimes they write the preposition for, they write the number 4. I don't know if you've seen that. So it's not something that I would write, and I wouldn't advise you to write it as a student, but it's more of a marketing initiative, and they try to make a brand name with Lite. It's to try to make it stand out more, I think. Mm-hmm.
Another question from Carlos. Light is synonymous de poco. Liviano? Algo suave. I'm not sure what that means. It's like something soft.
I think when he says de poco, maybe he means like not severe, not extreme.
When it's a headache, yes. And also, as Lynne said before, with calories. So poco calorías will be like a light meal, perhaps. Mm-hmm. Something that's not very heavy on calories. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could be, Carlos. Yeah.
Yeah, because we come up now with light lunch. Now, for example, a heavy lunch is if you have starters and then maybe you have a steak, a big steak with lots of potatoes, and then you have maybe a salad, and then maybe you have a big chocolate cake for dessert, coffee and mince. Yeah. So for example, at Christmas, we all had heavy lunches. I'm sure at Christmas, we all ate heavy meals. But a light lunch is something that is not very heavy, and it's something that you can eat quite quickly. So for example, if you just have a sandwich or a salad, that is a light lunch, right? So it hasn't got a lot of calories in it. It's not going to make you feel sleepy. All right. And usually it's not going to take a long time to eat. That's a light lunch.
And as we said before, with work, you can do some light work, and light industry is then obvious because it's not heavy industry, drilling for oil or making cars with huge machinery. It's maybe a factory that has very light machines, very simple, very basic industrial equipment. Can you think of an example of light industry?
I think a light industry, for example, might be making, I don't know, maybe transforming paper into envelopes, for example. If you're making envelopes
stationery.
Or stationery, that would be a light industry. Yeah. But a heavy industry is something like steel, making raw, like the big materials, making steel, where you have these huge machineries and big furnaces. Light industry is usually something that is manufacturing or packaging things is a light industry. Like when you just put things in boxes, that's a light industry.
Or maybe making jewelry or making things that's by hand as well.
Yes.
Breeze is brisa. So if there's a lovely breeze coming from the sea, but it's not wind, you can say it's a light breeze. It's muy suave. It's very soft and very gentle. A lovely light breeze on a sunny day.
And very pleasant as well. Yeah, like it's a light breeze is nice.
Yeah.
And then, I'm just looking at the comments, and you're all correct, right? He said that apparently liviano means something with low weight, so not so heavy. I think light.
Yeah.
And light lunch is like vegetables. That's true. Food industry could be light industry. Yes, I think so. The food industry is a light industry. And then Okay, Jose is asking a very interesting question. Maybe you can put this up. Does the expression a light person exist? For instance, when I want to say that someone doesn't have a complicated personality, I would say no.
I think because of the opposite, una persona pesada.
Pesada.
Like
I
qué
think that's where it comes.
pesado eres. Like a
No.
really, you
Yeah.
wouldn't say that. Doesn't translate literally
No,
to English.
no.
No.
If you say a light person, I would understand that you do not weigh very much.
Yes.
Right. So a light person maybe weighs 50 kilos and a heavy person weighs 150 kilos. Yeah. So if you said light with person, we would probably imagine the weight of it, light versus heavy. But not in terms of personality.
I've put some adjectives in the chat room that could be used for that kind of meaning, Jose Ignacio. You could say a happy-go-lucky person. You could say a laid-back person, or an easygoing person would be the opposite of pesado in Spanish. Yeah.
And Anna said a pesado is a pain in the neck. You're quite right. Well done.
Absolutely. I know a few people like that, and a few people like that. A few pains in the neck.
And Leonel is asking, can we say light personality? Also, no. Easygoing again.
Easygoing.
He has an easygoing personality. Would mean that you're not so serious. And then we come to the last one, and this is a bit unusual. It's a bit hard to guess this one. This one is called light relief. Now, how can I say? Relief in Spanish would mean alivio, but I'm aware that not everybody's from Spain. So it means when you feel better about something. So maybe something is very serious has been happening to you and you're very worried. And when the problem is solved, you feel relief. You feel, thank goodness, it's all worked out well. Now, that's the sense of relief. But when we say light relief, this means that the topic that we have been talking about is a pain in the neck. It's really been serious, and we want to stop hearing this serious topic. So in order to change the topic, we say, now for a little bit of light relief, let's tell a joke, or let's go to the cinema, or let's have a beer. Let's have some light relief. So light relief in that sense means let's do something that's going to make us feel happy, that's going to make us feel less serious about things. So, of course, at the moment in the news on the television, everything is bad. I was telling Craig earlier, I said, I don't want to watch the news anymore. Everything on the news is bad. It's all COVID and anarchy in the America.
There's nothing light. There's nothing light on the news. It's all heavy stuff.
It's all really serious things.
Yeah.
It's typical beginning of the year news, because this happens every year, I think, as well. In January, they all give bad news, right? And so really, maybe, I hope, maybe you didn't want to watch the news right now. So you thought, let's have a bit of light relief and watch Craig and Lynne. Do you think they thought that, Craig?
I hope so. Let's hope so. Let's hope we're not being too heavy.
I hope we're not being too serious for you. So a little bit of light relief. Minia has got a lovely word in Spanish, respiro. That's right. That's a little bit like, to have a bit of a respiro so that you can breathe again.
Poco de respiro.
Okay.
There's another compound. There's a compound noun with this kind of meaning as ligero, which is lightweight. If you call a person lightweight, that could be negative. For example, Lynne was mentioning beer before. If you go out with people who tend to drink a lot of alcohol and you just have a very small glass of beer or small glass of wine, you could call someone a lightweight. Like, you're a lightweight, you're not drinking the same as everybody else.
I think that also comes, Craig, from boxing, from the sport boxing.
Yes.
Because in boxing, there's different categories of boxers.
Heavyweight, lightweight, light, heavy,
lightweight,
welterweight.
featherweight, welterweight. And lightweight are for the men and women who do not weigh so much. So they're lighter in weight. So, and then heavyweights are for the really big, heavy boxers.
Yes.
So maybe when you go out drinking, if somebody says you're a lightweight, they're trying to they're not paying you a compliment. Yeah, they say that you're not strong. Or
Exactly.
Lolu is just asking. Lolu Lopez is just asking, can we use the word light relief for medicines? And you can. That's very, very good. We didn't know. We forgot about that one, Craig.
Yep.
So if you can say this medicine will give you some light relief
from the pain.
From the pain. So it will help you a little bit, a light relief from the pain. That's correct. Okay.
Okay. Light also has the meaning, if you're speaking about color of claro in Spanish, there's blue, there's dark blue, which is oscuro, and there's the opposite, which is light blue. So this is kind of a light blue shirt, and Lynne's wearing a blue sweater. It's kind of a light blue sweater. I don't have anything here. That's light blue, isn't it? Top of this bottle of water, that's light blue. Light brown. So you can use it as an adjective to add more description to a color. There's another use of light. And then it can also be used as an adverb. Light and lightly. Although I'm not quite sure what the difference is. I mean, you can say I travel light, but you can't say I travel lightly. That's interesting. You can knock lightly on the door, for example.
But I think this is the difference now between, we saw that the word light can mean heavy in weight, or the opposite of heavy in weight, right? So it can mean something to do with weight, but it also has another meaning, which means not so hard, not so severe,
not so strong,
not so strong. So there's a difference between weight and strength, right? So when you say I travel light, it means that you don't travel with heavy bags. You only have maybe a light bag to go onto the aeroplane. You don't check in a bag because you travel light. You just take a T-shirt, a change of underwear, and a toothbrush. That's to travel light, right?
Do you usually travel light?
No.
Take everything with you?
Of course. I try. No, I do try to travel light. I do try, but I don't always succeed.
I think the philosophy is to pack your suitcase and then open it again and take out half of the clothes. Close it.
I think it depends on where you travel, because I travel. If it depends. If I go by plane, I tend to travel light. But if I go by car, I take everything that I can fit into the car. So so I know when we go by car, we never travel light. But if we go by plane, I often travel light. And if I'm doing a trip where I have to carry my luggage, I definitely travel light. So if I go hiking, of course, you can't carry every day. You can't carry a lot of weight. So then I travel very lightly.
Eva's got a nice question. Hello, Eva. She's saying, we're going back to color. Is light blue like a shade of blue? Not really. Well, I think when you talk about shades, Eva, you get more focused on many different colors. Light blue and dark blue divide the colors very roughly, very approximately. But when you talk about different shades of blue, there are a lot more, aren't there? It's kind of layers, capas of color.
Yeah, you're talking about a spectrum of colors.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for, spectrum.
So at one side of the spectrum, you will have light blue. At the other side of the spectrum, you'll have dark blue. And in the middle, you'll have hundreds of different shades of blue.
But you can also say it's a light shade of blue.
Yeah, yes, you can say it's a light
shade of blue.
No, I know this very well because before Christmas, I had the painter came to decorate my house, and most of my house is white, but in the hall, I like a color, and I wanted to have a yellow color. Well, I had a yellow color, and it was nice. And I thought, great, I just need the same. So I went to the shop and I said, I want yellow. And she gave me in the shop a book, and there were 50 shades of yellow. And I realized that I'm not an artist.
Not
I'm
50
not
Shades of Grey, 50 Shades
So
of
I
Yellow.
look at the 50 shades of yellow and I just said, I don't know, that one. So she mixed up the color and she gave it to me. And the painter painted it in the hall. And it was horrendous. It was awful. It looked like Easter chickens, like Easter at Easter, where you have that very, very bright yellow on an Easter card. It was really, really bright. And we lasted 2 days. And then I had to go back to the shop and I said, you know what? I'll have white. So please give me white. And I got the painter and he had to come back and paint it white because there were so many shades in between. I thought I had chosen a light yellow, but in actual fact, it was very, very strong. Mm-hmm.
And what color is it now? White.
White. I went back. I thought it was too difficult. It was too difficult to choose. I couldn't do it.
We've got some more questions about color. This is getting interesting. So Juan Lu is saying, is light blue similar to soft blue?
No. No.
Why not?
I say no. I would say
light
no.
blue similar to soft?
Because there can be shades of light blue, which mean they are not dark.
And some are soft and some are not.
When you talk about soft and cold is the opposite, right? So a soft blue, it's a little bit like when we were talking about the bulbs that you put in the ceiling. Now you have warm light or you have white light. And warm gives a feeling of warmth. And if you say soft blue, you imply that it is warm, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very agreeable, isn't it? Soft color
nice.
is very warm. It's very pleasant, very nice.
Because soft is a very positive word. It's a very positive word.
And they say that
light, Sorry, I think light is a neutral word. It doesn't convey that feeling of positivity, light blue. It's just descriptive. It just means it's not dark, right? And cold blue would be the opposite of soft blue. So soft blue would be positive, cold blue would be negative, and light blue is just neutral. What do you think of that? Do you like that?
I agree. And if you think of the branding of Facebook, for example, the Facebook has a very soft blue corporate color, which is warm and attractive because Facebook want you to stay on the page and they want you to stay with them. And the same reason, if you go to a fast food restaurant, the colors tend to be very aggressive, maybe bright red, because they don't want you to sit in the restaurant for a long time. They want you to eat and go. So the colors don't usually tend to be soft in fast food restaurants, but maybe they would be in an expensive restaurant because it's nice to relax and stay there for a long time. There's another question here about, from Eva. I can't say your clothes are the same shade of blue. Do you mean our clothes? They're a similar shade of blue. They're not exactly the same shade as blue. My shirt is slightly darker blue than Lynne's sweater. So they're not exactly the same shade. But you can say they're a similar shade.
I'd like to just confuse you even more. And actually, my jumper is green. The problem is my webcam and my white light, it changes the colors.
You need to adjust your white balance.
I need to have the balance because my jumper is green.
Minia says we're giving a master class of colors.
We certainly are.
And but one more, just to confuse you more, Lynne, because, well, not confuse you, but to confuse me. There was a question, I think, from Christina. Where is it? She asked about hue. Oh, here it is, Christine. What about hue?
Now,
which
hue,
in
I
Spanish
think
is tinte, no?
no,
Tonalidad.
I
Yeah.
think a hue is a synonym of shade.
Okay.
Or tone. You can say a tone of color as well, a hue. But tone, you can use the word tone, tonalidad, like you say in Spanish. Tone is usually for, in English, it can be for color. So it can be for visual things, but it can also be for audio things. So you have tones in music, for example. But hue is only to do with visual. Hue is to do with color. You can't say a hue of music for example, but hue is to do with color. Ha!
Well done.
I'll tell you something. I learned an awful lot about color when I made my website. When I created my website, I said I'm not artistic at all. And I spent hours and hours and hours choosing photographs for the different pages. And the problem was the colors. It was the colors, because to get colors that actually agree with each other is very difficult.
And you should go and look at Lynne's website, because it is lovely. Just to
Oh, yes.
remind you, it's putitlikethis.com. Go and see what
Go
Lynne
and
has
see
done
what I
with
did.
her hues and her tones and her different colors there. It's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. Only positive feedback, please. I don't want any negative feedback, because I don't want to do it again. Okay, shall we continue?
Yes, I'm a bit lost with the banners.
Right.
Where are
Okay.
we? Oh, yes,
Well,
and there's another meaning of light, which means to give illumination or energy. It could translate to Spanish as encender. For example, you can light a fire if you're camping and you're in the countryside and you want to cook. You light a fire. Remember, as I said at the beginning, past is lit. It's an irregular verb. I lit a fire when we went camping. And you can light a cigarette. Also, give me a light. Do you have a light, please? Excuse me, can I have a light? If you're a smoker, then you need to ask for a light. Can I have a light,
that's
please?
important, because if somebody asks you, do you have a light? Can you give me a light? You don't give them a torch. You don't don't give them a light. Don't switch on the light. That's not what they want. They want you to light their cigarette when they say, have you got a light? They want you to light their cigarette with a cigarette lighter. Okay. All right.
More questions.
We've got one
Leonel says,
more.
colors are a pain in the neck. My wife is a graphic designer and she knows 1,000 colors. Yeah, I'm the same, Leonel. I'm not very color literate. So
No,
I'm really
no
pleased
more.
that Lynne is with me today.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I want to meet Leonel's wife. That's what I need. I wish my husband was your wife, because that would have helped me.
I'm very sensitive to fonts, text fonts, and I was looking for a long time this week to find a particular font, a style of font I wanted to write something, but I'm not really very good at designing and colors and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's
And
tricky.
Bruno says we can also say to get off lightly. Exactly. Yeah. Imagine you're stopped by the police for speeding in your car or speaking on your mobile phone. Don't do that. And the police stop you and you think, oh no, I'm going to get a fine. This is going to be a problem. And the policeman says to you, okay, this is a warning. I'll let you go. Don't do this again. This is a warning. I'm not going to fine you. You can say, well, I really got off lightly with that. I was very lucky. I escaped without a big punishment. So to get off lightly is to escape without punishment, without consequences.
Right. That brings us, Craig, because the time's going on. We have a quiz for you.
Yes, we do.
With some other phrases, right? And you can guess some things. We have an
idioms and
vocab
quiz. So this is going to work like this. We'll give you an example sentence and 3 possibilities, A, B, or C. And you need to write in the chat room which do you think is the correct choice. For example, they had been going out for 5 years before she finally saw the light and they split up. So to see the light, does that mean A, she realized the relationship wasn't going anywhere? Does that mean B, she found religion? Or does that mean C, she had a premonition? Which is the best explanation for that sentence? They'd been going out for 5 years before she finally saw the light, and they split up. Answers in the chat room, please. A, B, or C?
We've already got it. Juanlu. There we are. A. Well done. All right. So if you see the light, it means that you realize something. You understand something. Okay.
Very good. You all got that. Next one.
Yeah. So this one is, if you are light-fingered, what does that mean? To be light-fingered. Remember, these are your fingers. To be light-fingered. Does it mean A, you are very careful when you touch things? Does it mean B, you have a tendency to take things that aren't yours? Or C, you have slender, thin fingers? What does it mean if you are light-fingered? Let's see if anybody can answer.
Oh, difference of opinion this time. Francisca says A, Carlos says B, Christine says A.
B. Right, so we're between A and B. And the correct answer is B. If you are light-fingered, it means you steal things.
Yep, you're a thief.
Right? You are a thief. Or another word, a nice big word, is a kleptomaniac. Isn't it? Kleptomaniac. So if you are light-fingered, it means wherever you go, you tend to take things that aren't yours. Yeah. So that's light-fingered. It doesn't mean that you are very careful when you touch things. No.
Next one, the expression on a lighter note. On a lighter note means to write something down on paper quickly, to play a musical instrument very quietly, or to be more humorous and not so serious. What does it mean to on a lighter note? If you say, well, on a lighter note, are you writing something down? Are you playing a musical instrument? Or are you being more humorous? What do you think? Yeah, Juanlu says like Winona Ryder. Yeah, that's a few years ago that she got
Was she a kleptomaniac, was she?
shoplifting. Yeah, she was very light-fingered. Yeah.
Okay, well done. Right, yes, everybody's got this one right, I think. C, well done.
C.
It means
very good.
Be humorous and not so serious. Remember earlier, we heard the word light relief, which is also connected there, means you're not so serious, right? And on a lighter note is when you change the topic. You change the topic and you're going to talk about something nice.
And your example, Lynn, was with the news. You get all the news and it's really bad and the world is coming to an end. And at the end of the news, on a lighter note, there's a chimpanzee in the zoo who's given birth to a baby. Next one. If you get off lightly, we had this before. Do you leave a bus, train, or other means of transport without paying? Do you kiss someone you are attracted to get off with someone? But to go no further, just get to first base, as we used to say? Or do you receive a less severe punishment than you expect? There should be a T at the end there. Expect.
Now, this one, Craig described because somebody actually mentioned it and Craig actually explained it just before the quiz. So I hope you were paying attention. If you get off lightly, what is it? C. Well done.
C. Yep. Well done. Fabiana, Eva's got it. Yep.
Wonderful.
Bruno's got it.
Well done.
Yes. Very good.
Okay. Have we got
Next
one more?
Mm-hmm. What's
all
this
right,
one?
This great. So if you are out like a light, so he's out like a light, you can say. What does that mean? Does it mean A, you are unconscious or in a deep sleep? Does it mean B, you are enjoying an exciting night out with your friends? Or C, does it mean you are trying to move around in a dark room? So this is when somebody says, oh, he's out like a light. Or she's out like a light. What does it mean? A, unconscious or in a deep sleep. B, you're enjoying an exciting night out with your friends. Or C, you're trying to move around in a dark room.
No idea, says Eva. Hemmer's going for A.
Carlos too.
Carlos and Siam.
And you're right. If you are out
A.
like a light, it means you are really fast asleep.
I had a very hard day yesterday. I worked really hard. I did a lot of exercise. And when I finally got to bed, I was out like a light. Very common expression.
The metaphor means like it's easy to switch the light off and it disappears and then it's quiet. And that's what it means. But that one is a tricky one because, of course, we did have the word light sleeper, which means the opposite. So that one was a tricky one, right? So remember, light sleeper means you don't sleep very well. You wake up a lot. But if you are out like a light, it's a metaphor, meaning that when you switch the light off, it's that fast you fall asleep. That's what it means.
Sometimes it helps to remember these expressions with a picture in your mind. If you imagine the light switch that we mentioned before, when you go to bed, you turn off the light. So you turn off the light switch. Just imagine that at the same time you turn off the light switch, that's when you go to sleep immediately at the same time. So the light switch is turning you off. Mm-hmm. And if you have that picture in your mind of you falling on the bed and sleeping immediately, that might help you connect with the expression to be out like a light.
Because it's a tricky one, that one.
We've got two more. So to green light something, what does that mean? If you green light something, does that mean to make it environmentally friendly? To approve it, to give it the okay, or to develop it specifically for the army, for military use? What does that mean, to green light something? People seem to be going for B. Leona's gone for B, Eva's gone for B, and Christine's gone for B. Yes, you're right, to approve it. If you green light a project, for example, you go ahead, you give it the okay. If you green light some work, then you can go ahead and you can do it.
Mm-hmm. And that's from a metaphor. It's the picture again, this time of the traffic lights, of course. The green means you can go. Yeah, so it's to approve it. It says you can go. Okay, the last one then, yeah?
Yep.
Right, so if you shed light on something, what does it mean? If it says, oh, that sheds a lot of light on that, or I'm going to shed some light on that for you, that you could say. What does it mean? Does it mean A, you increase the amount of light in your home? B, you make something that is heavy much lighter? Or C, you reveal something that was previously hidden? If you shed light on something, does that mean?
Leona's gone for C. Eva's gone for C. Christine's gone for C. Any more?
And you're right. It's C.
You're right. It's
you
C.
Reveal something. So to shed light on, it's also like a picture. To shed means to throw sometimes, to shed, to throw out. And you're throwing light onto something. So when you throw light onto something, you illuminate it. And before, people couldn't see it, but now they can. So that is, you reveal something that was previously hidden. Now, often in politics, if you read articles in the newspaper, they are always trying to shed light on the situation, or they shedding light on what has happened. There's a lot of articles in the news at the moment that are discussing what happened in America, in the Capitol building, and there are many journalists who are trying to shed some light on this situation, and they're trying to discuss, why did it happen, what happened, how did it happen? Okay, they're all trying to shed light on what happened.
Yeah. Before we go and leave you, there's just one final thing. Let's go back to this one, because Carlos in the chat room, hi Carlos, he's a soldier, and he's saying, well, can't this be C as well, to develop it for military use? Because as a soldier, of course, if they say you've got the green light, but that means you can go ahead. You can go ahead with the operation. So the operation has been approved. It doesn't literally mean to develop something for the military. For example, to develop a weapon or develop a tank or a rocket. So I know that in the army, they use the expression to green light an operation, to go ahead with it, but that really means to approve it, to say that, yes, you can raid this country, for example, or you can do this operation. Just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, great. And we just got one last thing. Christine says another one, to bring something to light, is a synonym. It's a parallel phrase for to shed light on something or to bring something to light. Both of those mean exactly the same thing. That's right. Okay, great. So,
well,
you see, light is quite difficult sometimes, but anyway.
I hope we've shed light on some of the uses of light. And
I hope you see the light at the end of the tunnel. English is an end, there is an end of the tunnel when you're learning English. So I hope that you see the light at the end of the tunnel. We hope that you all sleep, or that you all, when you go to bed, you go out like lights tonight. You go out like a light. And anything else? And we hope we were a little bit of light relief in this day and age of very bad news.
Let's hope so. And I hope that you'll come back with us next week. I hope Monica's going to be with us next week. I haven't spoken to her. I have been following Monica on Twitter and Facebook, and I know she had a good Christmas from her photographs. So I'm looking forward to seeing Monica next week. And thanks very much to Lynne for being with us this week. So
okay, my pleasure.
Tell them about your website again, Lynne.
All right. Well, my website has many shades of light in it because it's been designed with a lot of attention to the colors. Right. So Put It Like This is my website, and I offer online classes to try to help people with English to achieve their specific goals. So I basically tailor make my courses for you. And all of my classes are online. So I'm a pure online teacher now. And I have this lovely light, which puts me in a good light, I hope, when I give my online classes.
It does. It puts you in a very good light. And my name's Craig from mentioningles.com, where we have lots of material that is free, listenings and courses, general English courses. And we also have a store where you can buy courses if you want something more specific, like a pronunciation course or an exam course or a business course. We have courses for sale there as well. And if you don't know about the podcast, it's a weekly free podcast that you can find on inglespodcast.com or anywhere that you listen to audio, like Spotify or iTunes or Google Podcasts. So if you haven't heard the podcast, then you might want to go and try it and see if it will help you with your English. Thanks very much for being with us. Thank you for watching the repeat on Facebook Live. Have a good week. Stay safe, and we'll see you again soon.
Yeah. Okay. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye.